All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the GD Sports Network. We are currently just going to be on here talking about this game that just ended, man, against the Golden State Valkyries and the Indiana Fever. So I'm just on here to give my takes on it. I'm going to try and let a few people get in here. I'm not quite sure who all may even be up. It's 1:30 in the morning, and because it was a late night game, I'm here on the East Coast. But I just wanted to chime in, man, and if nothing more, this will be uploaded to my channel. Um, and I would appreciate it if y'all would give me some genuine feedback in that comment section because I really want to have this conversation. But I mean, for me, um, I think these two teams played last week. I want to say it was last Friday that they played in Indiana. Stephanie White did a great job with her rotations. She was coaching. A lot of people have different problems with Coach White due to the fact that Caitlin Clark fans are Caitlin Clark fans. A lot of Caitlin Clark fans are not fans of the W. They are not fans of Indiana. They are Caitlin Clark fans. I have no problem with that. I have certain players that I followed around. Um, just to be blunt with it, I am a huge LeBron James fan. Well, part of the LeBron James thing is, you know, uh, I follow him from Cleveland to uh, Los Angeles, also when they were with the Heat. So, I mean, I get it. When someone's a fan of a certain player, you are a fan of a certain player. And I have no problem with that. For those coming in, please hit that like button. Go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe. Welcome to the GD Sports Network. For those who are unaware, the GD stands for Girl Dad. My daughter actually plays semi-pro football down in Atlanta. That's what this channel was dedicated to. But tonight I decided to go ahead and do a video on the Valkyrie and Fever game that just went off. Maybe 20 minutes ago. So that is the game that I am having this live on. So go ahead and give me some comments. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. If you watched the game, did you like it? If you did not like the game, tell me what you didn't like about it. But I'm just kind of getting into it a little bit, man. I saw, like I said, they played last week on Friday. And Stephanie White, her rotations, everything looked good to me. I'm not saying that I'm, smarter than Stephanie White, but what I am saying is I'm just going off of my novice watching a game. Everything looked good to me. Tonight, I think she was on fire again and ready to do what she needed to do to win the game. But in my opinion, where she failed herself tonight was not going and sticking with the quote unquote hot hand. Um, Once again, we're talking about the Golden State Valkyrie versus the Indiana Fever tonight. And for any of you who watched the game, please give me your feedback. Please let me know what you thought because I would love to hear. But furthering my comments, I think that there are only so many players that you're going to have that are role players, that are bench players, that are going to get hot every night. It's just not likely. I mean, when you have someone like a Kennedy Carter, and if you watch that game tonight, she actually had her first start for the Las Vegas Aces. But clearly, Kennedy Carter is a player who is starter material. And, so having her to have a big night isn't exactly surprising. I mean, we all get that. But there are certain players, at least right now, currently on this roster, that are backup players. And person that I'm speaking on, for those who don't know, let me give you a little bit about my background. I am a South Carolina women's basketball fan. I am a South Carolina women's basketball season ticket holder. So I am a huge fan of AB. I am a huge fan of Raven Johnson. So when I say what I'm about to say, I am not saying that Raven is not capable of being a starter. But what I am saying is that Raven is clearly on this team not a starter. So when you're not a starter on a team, you don't get starters minutes. And quite frankly, you don't always get the most minutes. But she is in a rotation. She's probably the first or second guard off the bench. I'm not complaining at all about her playing time right now. I think she's still learning the game at the pro level and all of that. But where I'm going with my commentary is the fact that tonight Raven was on fire. And I'm not saying she went for 30 or anything like that. But what I am saying is that Raven was playing a heck of a game tonight. And instead of going with everyone would agree with the hot hand is there, you've got to feed the hot hand. You've got to at least incorporate the hot hand. And for the Indiana Fever to actually lose the game by 2 points, I just think it feeds into exactly what I'm saying right now. So just to give you a little bit of what I'm talking about, Aaliyah Boston again. I am a South Carolina fan. I am a South Carolina fan. So by no means am I saying that I am disrespecting Aaliyah Boston. But Aaliyah Boston tonight was 36%. Part of that on 4 of 11 shooting. Part of that was that she got into foul trouble early on. And I'm sitting watching the game and I'm kind of laughing because the reality is the reason she got into foul trouble is because of her South Carolina teammate, Letitia Amihir, knowing how to play her. I mean, it is what it is. And that's what happened is that Letitia was able to get up underneath her a couple of times. And, she got some offensive fouls on her. Her first 3 fouls that were called in the game were all offensive fouls. And quite frankly, her 4th foul called in the game was offensive as well. But Stephanie White challenged it, and it was taken away and changed into a defensive foul. But Letitia Amihir, like I say, being teammates from South Carolina, she knows how to play her. She was getting underneath her, and she was taking charges. That's pretty much what was going on. But yet and still, she was 36% shooting on 4 of 11 shooting. She had 4 fouls, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 turnovers. So it was not her finest night by any standard. And that was in 22 minutes of play, so she was very limited. Kelsey Mitchell shot 38% from the field, shooting 5 of 13. She had 30 minutes that she played. She had 5 fouls, 1 rebound, 3 assists. Lexi Hull, 29% shooting on 2 of 7 shooting. She had 3 fouls, 6 rebounds, no assists. Caitlin Clark, 25% shooting. She shot 3 of 12. She had 4 fouls, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 turnovers. Now, those are big numbers for her in a game that was actually lost by 2. And when I say big, I'm saying not what you want to see from your star player in a game that you eventually lose by 2. Mo Billings shot 50%, but she was only 1 of 2. So, 50% doesn't mean much there. But she had 2 fouls, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. That was the starting lineup. Now, in this game, the reason that I mentioned earlier about role players usually not playing so great consistently is because they're role players. They have their role. They may be consistent on a certain level, giving you 6 to 8 points a game or whatever, man, playing some defense, limited minutes, maybe, getting a, foul here and there, a breather, whatever. But as far as you don't expect them necessarily to lead your team in scoring, okay? But the bench tonight, Michaela Timpson, shot 100%. Now, she only shot 3 shots. She only played 15 minutes, but she was 3 of 3. She had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, no turnovers. That's big in a game that you lose by 2. Sophie Cunningham was 36% shooting, 4 of 11. 2 fouls, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. So not the best night shooting for her. But Raven Johnson shot 70%. She was 7 of 10. She actually led the team in scoring tonight, which is where I'm saying that's not going to happen every night. It's not likely to happen every night. She played 21 minutes, and quite frankly, probably should have played a little more. The reason I say that is because, again, Raven Johnson was brought in pretty much for one reason and I'll say 2 reasons. One, to control the pace of the offense, to be able to give Caitlin Clark a breather off of bringing the ball up 94 feet, okay, for being pressed 94 feet. So Raven Johnson was brought in to help advance the ball. but her number one reason for being drafted was her defensive prowess. So she is, probably on that team the first or second best defensive player on the team the minute she was drafted. So, where am I going with this? I think Stephanie White may have cost them the game by trying to stay with her more offensive team tonight because I just read you the numbers. None of them had great numbers tonight. So, when you're shooting 36% from your starting center, 38% from your starting shooting guard, 29% from your starting wing player, 25% from your starting point guard, then maybe, just maybe, your backup guard that's shooting 70% on 7 of 10 shooting with 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, maybe, just maybe, she should have had a little more time on the court. She did play 21 minutes, but again, between Sophie Cunningham at 25 minutes, 4 of 11 shooting, Lexi Hull, 23 minutes, 2 of 7 shooting. And hear me out on this, because I'm not saying they should not have played, but I'm saying considering that they got the time they got, maybe Raven deserved more time tonight. Because the point is, like I stated, you're not looking for your defensive stopper to lead you in points. But on a night when she's got it going, it's up to the coach to realize that and keep her in the game. You keep her in the game. You let her cook while she's able to cook. Because not only is she cooking offensively, leading your team in scoring, which is not going to happen every night, but she's also your number one defensive player. So, tell me what you guys think about what I'm saying. Let me get some feedback in this chat, because if you watch the game, tell me what you think about what I'm saying. If you didn't watch the game, just let me know what you think about what I'm saying. Because, people always say that shooters shoot, shooters shoot, shooters shoot. They'll shoot themselves out of a slump. That's a true statement. True statement. But at the same time, sometimes once your shooting is off on a given night, maybe you feed the hot hand. Maybe you go to the player who normally isn't going to give you 20 points on a given night. But guess what? If they can give you 20 tonight, it just might win you the game. So for me, that's really where I'm going with it, man, is that, I just feel like tonight they dropped the ball in the fact that, again, and also to give you the fouls of the starters. Aaliyah Boston had 4 fouls. Kelsey Mitchell had 5 fouls. Lexi Hull had 3 fouls. Caitlin Clark had 4 fouls. Sophie had 2 fouls. Raven only had 1 foul. So as many points as they were able to get from the free throw line today, that's also a place where I feel like they lost the game. And had you could have played a little more solid defense without fouling, then you very likely could have left that game with a victory. So, I'm just curious to know what you guys feel. Give me your feedback on the Indiana Fever versus the Golden State Valkyries and what you felt about them tonight. How you feel like that game could have been different in the end for Indiana. How you feel like they could have possibly pulled that game off and won it. Because for me, I just think that when you have a player, especially a rookie player, and a bench player who is on a given night, that's their night to shine. And maybe you step away and let it happen because you don't expect it to happen on a nightly basis. So when they're cooking, you got to let them cook. And it could have been the difference between a win and a loss. Now, that's just my opinion. But I would love to know what you're thinking. So as you come in, do me the favor of hitting that like button and subscribing if you're interested in the channel. Once again, this is the GD Sports Network. The GD stands for Girl Dad. I have a daughter who plays semi-pro football down in Atlanta, and thus the name of the channel being GD Sports Network. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the Indiana Fever and the Golden State Valkyries and how they played tonight and how you feel the outcome could have been different. Because to me, I believe the outcome could have been different had you simply uh, maybe left in a hot hand, played them a little more, or left in a defensive team a little more often, because the offense, it wasn't the greatest tonight, and they still put up 88 points. So I don't think that scoring points is this team's problem. I think that sometimes you just have to get a stop to win a game. You have to get a stop to win a game. If you look at Indiana right now, they have 3 losses on the season by a combined 7 points. They lost the first game of the season 107-104 to Dallas. They came back 2 games later and they lost 104-102 to the Washington Wizards. And now tonight they lost 90-88 to the Golden State Valkyries. So sometimes you have to get a stop to win a game. It's not only about your offense. Sometimes you have to make a stop to win a game. So again, if you watch the Indiana Fever versus the Golden State Valkyries tonight, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to see you get into that comment section and tell me where you think Indiana could have won this game tonight. But as you come in, also do me the favor of hitting that like button. Subscribe if you're interested. Um, I talk a lot about women's sports because the name of my channel being GD Sports Network, that is geared around Girl Dad. That's what GD stands for, Girl Dad. I've got a daughter who plays semi-pro football down in Atlanta. All of her games are live streamed on my channel, so if you're ever interested in taking in some women's football, go ahead and go to my library and look at my lives, and you'll see at least 2 seasons worth. There may be 3, but at least 2 seasons worth of my daughter's team. But again, I'm just curious to know how you all feel if you watch the game when it comes to the Indiana Fever and Golden State Valkyries. A very good game. I'm not necessarily upset at the loss. You don't win them all, but I am tired of seeing Indiana win close games when you use your number 10 draft pick to pick up a defensive stopper and you don't use her enough in moments where you need a stop. Now, I will say, again, if you watch the game, Stephanie did try and go offense, defense late in the game. She did do that. She would have, I want to say it was, what was it? Michaela Timpson and Raven sitting off to the side waiting to get in multiple times towards the end. What's good, Tone Low? Dallas looked really good. Great games tonight. Man, good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Hey, man, now if you watch these games tonight, I need you to tell me what you think about Raven tonight, man. I need to know what you think about Raven tonight, because I know we've talked several times about it, man, and I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, Raven, man, you're not looking for 16 points on a nightly basis and expecting Raven to shoot 70%, from the field. And, everybody says when you got the hot hand, you feed it. When you got the hot hand, you feed it. Well, maybe, on a given night, man, on a night like tonight, the hot hand is not going to be Caitlin Clark. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of curious as to what you think about Raven's minutes. She got 21. Not bad. I'm not complaining about it at all. I'm pleased with her game tonight. And I think the rotations and everything was pretty solid, if I'm being honest. But that being said, man, it's like, I think she should have got a little more minutes. I think she was one of their best players tonight, consistently. She was not fouling a lot. Quite frankly, when she was on certain players, they weren't scoring. And I think they could have pulled that game out, man, had they left her in a little bit more. That's my honest opinion. I'm biased, but that's why I'm asking you what you think, because I just think that game was there for the winning, man. And you hear me saying all the time, sometimes to win a game, you need to stop. And I feel like tonight, not only was I don't think she was on Burton enough, to be honest, because Burton was seeking out CC, and when she got CC, she was cooking. I mean, she was cooking. So I do feel like I say, a stop here or there, and you win these games, man. They've lost 3 games by a total of 7 points, 2 by 2, 1 by 3. So I'm just trying to figure out, man, like when they're going to concentrate more on actually getting stops at the end of these games, man. Because when they brought CC off the bench, she came right in with about 30 seconds to go and tried to go for the corner three and got it blocked. Why was it blocked? Because they knew darn well what she was going to do. You know what I mean? They was waiting for that mug to go up, and it was literally blocked. So, that's one of them where if you hit it, the crowd goes crazy. If you're at home, but it would be a silencer being on the road. But just in that position, man, I feel like that was a time when she could have been used as a decoy, found the open player, cutting. I feel like Timpson should have been in the game late. I feel like Raven should have been in the game late. Um, Honestly, I feel like from what I witnessed tonight, the best closing lineup would have been Lexi, KK, Sophie, Raven, and if you want to have CC in there, that's cool. But that's the 4 that should have been around her, because quite frankly, those are the only 4 that had a positive plus minus tonight. So, from that standpoint, I'm like, you got to go with the players that are right for the moment. That might not be your normal starting lineup. It may not even be your normal closing lineup. But on a given night, you got to go with what's working. So, yeah, let me know what you're thinking on that, man. But other than that, any other chatter from the game tonight? Yeah, Dallas looked good. Can't deny that. Dallas looked good. Um, they kind of got with the doggone Aces in a real way. Kind of surprised me a little bit, to be honest. Naturally, the Aces tried to come back a little bit, but unable to complete it. Ended up losing by double digits, if I'm correct. But hey, losses gonna happen. I had already said they first 10. I was looking at 7-3. Blocks of 7-3. With it being a 40-game season, 7-3 times 4 will get you 28-12. And you got some games left at the end to go ahead and finish off. So I'm not really worried about the loss, but I just feel like they're losing games they don't have to lose if they can get a stop when it counts. But once again, I'm speaking more on the Indiana Fever and the Golden State Valkyrie game. But y'all get in that chat, man, and let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel about even the other game that was played tonight. I didn't watch that one as much, but I understand both teams. I know Kennedy Carter got her first start tonight, and quite frankly, from what I'm hearing, she didn't have one of her better nights, considering that she's been borderline leading the team in scoring. But that being said, man, like I say, let me know what you're thinking, because for me, I feel like Indiana let one slip away, and I feel like they let it slip away because of wanting to stay with your offensive lineup and just wanting to outscore a team instead of actually going with a team that probably would have got you the win. And because Caitlin had to sit at different times of this game, man, due to foul trouble. And quite frankly, when they looked their best was the second quarter when they scored 30 points, and she was on the bench for a lot of that time. And that's something that needs to be addressed. It's not. I'm not knocking CC, man. I'm not trying to say the team is better without her. None of that. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying situational basketball dictates to you that sometimes certain players are going to play, even though on a normal basis they might not. Basketball is a game of matchups, and if in a given game the matchup is best for your bench or your role players to get a few more minutes, then that's what you do, and you roll with it. And the starter should be happy on a given night to get the win if it's not their night. That's the sign of an unselfish team if what you're trying to do is win a game and not just get stats and not just get glory. So yeah, that's where I'm going with it, man. Is that I feel like Indiana let a game slip away tonight. I feel like they definitely could have won that game if they simply played their bench a little more than they did. I think the bench had it going. I think the bench was giving the Valkyries a little more of a fit even than the starters tonight because Aaliyah Boston got in foul trouble. As you can see, when she wasn't in foul trouble, she was getting busy a little bit. She definitely, I'm not making it seem like she had her greatest game, but in spurts, she was getting busy. They couldn't really stop her. She was stopping herself with, the offensive fouls. I think if she was able to play more minutes, I think she probably would have had a better game. But even still, she shot 4 of 11. That's only 36%. So I'm not saying that she was great either, but that's what I'm saying. When you have a backup in Michaela Timpson, who was 3 of 3 in her 15 minutes, shooting 100%, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, maybe she needed a little more time. And when you have your backup guard in Raven Johnson shooting 70%, 7 of 10, 1 foul, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, that's another thing I want to address here. I mean, if you look at, the number of fouls, Kelsey Mitchell had 5 fouls. Okay? Kelsey Mitchell had 5 fouls. Caitlin Clark had 4 fouls. Okay? Lexi Hull had 3 fouls. So Sophie had 2 fouls. So your guards and wings had the majority of your fouls. Now AB had 4, but I'm saying Kelsey Mitchell with 5, Caitlin Clark with 4, Lexi Hull with 3, Sophie with 2. Those are the people who were on the floor the most. Okay? And when you lose a game by 2 points, some of that came from the foul line. And if you were able to play a little better defense without fouling, you could have won the game. So again, when you draft someone to be a defensive stopper, I think you need to play that person and let them be a defensive stopper. You know what I mean? I mean, am I wrong for thinking that? You can't just outscore teams. You can't, especially when you're playing the number 1 defense in the WNBA. I mean, you still put up 88. That's very respectable. But you gave up 90. And they only average 84 points a game. So you gave them more than their average. They held you below your average, and you lost by 2. So you tell me, is that something that maybe they could have done differently and actually won the game? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just a fan. But from what I'm seeing, that's what I see. Is that Indiana very well could have won this game tonight, and instead they go home with a 2-point loss, heading to Portland, which Portland has been the biggest surprise of the year, at least for me. And I'm like, that's not a team you want to go up against after a loss on the West Coast and going into their, arena. Because, Indiana's everybody's. I know they haven't won anything, but if we're being real, Indiana is everybody's big game. Because they bring the fans, the whole Caitlin Clark effect, and, that's where a lot of teams want to beat you just because you're coming into their arena, and their arena is selling out. A lot of these WNBA teams are playing in bigger arenas when Indiana comes to town. So, I mean, everybody gets up to play Indiana. I'm not mad at them. I understand. But, that's the reality of it, is that they get up to play Indiana. So, you don't want to be going into Portland for the first time with a team that's on the rise at 5-3 and coming off a loss. But that being said, as you come in, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Once again, this is the GD Sports Network. The GD Sports Network. For those who are unaware, the GD stands for Girl Dad. And my daughter does play semi-pro football out in Atlanta. And so that is what this channel is dedicated to. is, women's sports for the most part. And but I talk about whatever. Every now and then I'm going to throw in whatever, but that is what it's dedicated to is women's sports, due to the fact of my daughter. But my main focus tonight was talking about the Indiana Fever and the Golden State Valkyries. So again, if you've got anything you want to say, go ahead and hit that comment section, and let's talk. Let's talk about it. I mean, I'm not saying everything I'm saying is right. I'm just giving you my opinion. But I definitely feel like, um, this is a game that Indiana should have won. I heavily believe they should have won. And anybody knows that role players normally play better at home. See, that's the other thing is that a lot of people have said Raven Johnson wouldn't be able to take the crowds in Indiana, this, that, and the other. For those who don't know, the University of South Carolina has led the nation in attendance for like the last 12 years or something. So I understand that's a home crowd, but the point is playing in front of 18,000 people is normal for young ladies who attended South Carolina University, University of South Carolina. That's normal. So it's not going to be a thing of, oh my God, there's so many people here. But not only that, see, just like the Indiana Fever, when Indiana Fever go on the road, they're the draw. They're the reason that, you know, like I say, some of these teams are having to play in bigger arenas. They may average 6,000 fans or something, but when Indiana comes to town, they're going to the men's arena. They're getting 16,000 fans to come out. Well, that might be intimidating for some, but for someone like Raven Johnson, who's been used to that in these SEC arenas, who everywhere she goes is packed. They all come and pack the house to try and beat University of South Carolina. You know what I mean? So for some who may have been nervous on a night like tonight, as you can see, Raven Johnson had her best night. She had her best night as a pro tonight in a hostile environment. You know why? She was unfazed. She was unfazed. So, when you have a rookie play like that on a night like tonight, again, I am a Raven Johnson fan. And I'm not looking for Raven to score 16 points a night. I'm not looking for that. I'm not even expecting that. But when you get it, and not only do you get it on a night when she scored 16, but she was 2 of 3 from 3. She was the best player on the Indiana Fever tonight. It was Raven Johnson. And my point is that knowing that that's not normal, when you have a player doing what's not normal for them, you got to roll with them. Because that might be the only game that Raven won for us this year, but she could have won it tonight. Let me see what we're saying here. She could have won it tonight, that's for sure. Um, okay. Okay, I thought I did hear that Kennedy started tonight, so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, Jessica Shepard, good Lord. That girl was out there looking like an MVP candidate, man. 22 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists. I'm like, boy, she couldn't be stopped by a scene like nobody. Um, she seemed to be the best player on the floor tonight. So yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. I mean, she showed her butt tonight, and she was the reason they won. Bottom line, she was balling. But yeah, I did hear that AZ did get her first uh, start, and I know the last I heard she had, I want to say 21 points. So I'm not sure what she finished with, but I know she did get her first start, and she made it work for her tonight, man. So I don't know if she'll start starting from this point forward, but she definitely had a good night, and I got to give credit where it's due because she was starting a little shaky, man. I was starting to worry about her a little bit, to be honest. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like when it comes to Raven tonight, I just think everybody wants to always scream about the star player. Well, when they hot, you got to roll with them. You know what? The old saying is shooters shoot, shooters shoot, shooters shoot, shooters shoot. Okay, well if shooters shoot and you have the green light on your team, then you don't ever have to worry about shooting. You gonna be able to put it up. You can shoot 15% on a given night, and you're gonna be okay. Why? Because you're the star player, and everybody's gonna accept that from you. But AZ22 and Page with 20, yeah, hey, if they start doing that with any regularity, they're gonna be dangerous. We already knew that from college. But so yeah, shooters shoot, shooters shoot, shooters are always gonna shoot, right? Well, the point is that your bench doesn't have that luxury. They don't have that luxury. They come in shooting 20 times. Well, first of all, they're not gonna get to their 20th shot if we being real. But if your players come off the bench and they're over in a certain period of time, they're out the game. They're out the game. They're not given as long a leash as the starters. But when your bench comes in off the bench and actually balls out and does what they need to do to keep your team not only in it, but ahead, because if you watch this game, Indiana normally, Caitlin goes out, they've got a lead, the lead goes away. Well, tonight, there was a time or two where they were down or at least close, and Caitlin went out and the score increased, the lead increased, or they at least came back. So it wasn't like that tonight. Tonight, you got to give credit where it's due when it comes to the bench, man. The bench did their job tonight. And I just feel like that it could have been a little more time for Michaela Timpson, a little more time for Raven Johnson, and I think they could have pulled that game out. I really do. I think they could have pulled that game out. But again, the other reason I'm saying it is because there's defending and there's fouling. And the people that were on the floor were doing a lot of fouling. And that allowed Golden State to go to that free throw line and get their way out of that game. And again, it's a game you lost by 2. Golden State only missed 2 free throws. They were 19 to 21. 19 to 21. So when they were going to the line, they weren't missing. And to me, that's where they won the game. Was late in the game, they were able to get to the free throw line and make their free throws. Now, the Fever went 28 times. So again, if you make your free throws, you could have won the game too, because they missed 8. So I'm not gonna deny that. But that's why I say things like shots aren't always going to fall. But the question becomes, can you make a stop when you need a stop and win the game? One possession is all it takes sometimes to make a stop. And they were unable to do that tonight when they had to. When they had to, they were unable to do it tonight. So that's why you end up with a 2-point loss. And, that's just how I feel about it, man, is that I think Raven Johnson deserved more minutes tonight because not only is she your best defensive player, but on this night, she was also your best offensive player. Now, as you come in, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Welcome to the GD Sports Network. We are talking Indiana Fever basketball. We are talking Indiana Fever specifically versus the Golden State Valkyrie tonight. If you watch the game, let me know your feelings and your thoughts. If you did not watch the game, then but you're a Fever fan and you know what I'm talking about, then give me some feedback on what you think. Because I genuinely feel that if tonight the bench had got a little more time on the court, I think they'd have won this game. Because there was only 4 players on the Indiana Fever tonight that had a positive plus minus. And those 4 players were Lexi Hull, Michaela Timpson, Sophie Cunningham, and Raven Johnson. That was it. So, oh yeah, man. Doggone, Shepherd, man. Shepherd had an all-world night tonight. I mean, she played like an MVP. I mean, 22 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, a triple-double with 20 and 20. I mean, yeah, man. Give credit where it's due, man. That girl was unstoppable, and that was against the defending champs. So it wasn't against nobody. I mean, she balled out. If she's going to play that well for Dallas this year, that young team is going to be a problem because I do believe that they will only get better. I do firmly believe that. I thought early on it would take some adjusting for them, but they're still sitting at 4-3, right there in the mix, and they're going to get better. Um, what I think about them, to be honest, is that it appears to me that oh, I don't want to be wrong with her name, but their center that's wearing the mask right now. It appears to me that she is very uncomfortable with the mask. Either that or she is just very afraid of taking contact to that mask because she is not playing like herself. She's being very tentative. Anytime she's even contacted around that mask, you can see she almost looks like a deer in headlights, where she's just bothered by the whole concept. Um, Now, back in the day, you had Richard Hamilton, um, who, I think broke facial fracture or something. I don't think it was just a nose. I think it may have been a facial fracture, orbital bone, whatever it was. He needed that mask early on. And as he got used to it, he never played another game without it. So once he got used to it, he never played another game without that mask. So, it does let you know that some people can get used to it. And if she gets used to it, she'll be fine. If not, she's going to have to get to the point where she is definitely feeling better, because I think her mental may be a little off when it comes to, wearing that mask or the injury itself. I don't think she's mentally gotten better from the fact that she has that injury. But yeah, if Dallas is going to play the way they're playing, man, yeah, Lana Smith, um, yeah, she's Lana Smith. That's who she is, and she's just not doing well with that mask at all, man. There's definitely a mental block there, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's just the mask, um, or if it's uh, you know, the overall concept of the injury itself, and she's just afraid to get it touched. I don't know what she feels even with the mask. You know how that goes, man. Like, cause like I wear glasses, so it's like sometimes you can get touched, around that area of the nose, your eyes are water, and things like that. So I don't know exactly what's going on with her, but I do know that she is not comfortable in her skin right now. Whether it's just the mask and the peripheral vision and this and that, or if it's the fear of that facial injury. But yeah, so she didn't play tonight. Yeah, that gave the other girl some minutes, and she went 20-20. So Lana Smith better get her stuff together, or she gonna be coming off the bench if that girl gonna be playing like that. Good lord. Um, but as you come in, I want to welcome you to the GD Sports Network. Like I've said, welcome to the GD Sports Network. Go ahead and hit that like button for me, and go ahead and give me some information on what team you follow. Who is your team? Tell me, who is your team? I'm curious to know. I am a huge Indiana Fever fan because I am a huge University of South Carolina fan. So I originally migrated to Indiana with Aaliyah Boston being picked number one 3 years ago. Once Caitlin Clark went number one 2 years ago, I welcomed her in like a loving step parent, and I fully accept her, and I'm good with her. Now for them to have Raven as well, that makes them my number one team. Like I say, coming from the South Carolina family, but secondarily Atlanta, because Atlanta has three of our girls out there as well, where they've got Medina Okot, they have Tahina Pow Pow, and obviously the OG on that team is Alicia Gray. So I followed them as well. My wife and I also went out last week to Chicago to take in a game with Camila Cardozo, which wasn't a good game to take in on that day. They didn't look that great at all. Minnesota put it on them. But that's what we did. So we do support the young ladies coming out of the University of South Carolina. And, because like I said, I mean, my daughter playing semi-pro football down in Atlanta, man, has definitely opened my eyes to supporting the women's game. So I'm going to support the women's game regardless. But those are the teams that I follow mainly. Naturally, we've got a couple of young ladies out in Los Angeles, but they are not getting the playing time that I think they should, if I'm being honest. But of course, I'm biased. But Sanaya Fagan hasn't had much run out there at all, and that's even when Cameron Brink was hurt. So if she wasn't playing when Brink was hurt, then I don't see her getting much time, unfortunately. And then naturally, Tanaya Latson is, Tanaya Latson is kind of doing her thing. Um, well, I won't say she's doing her thing. She's looked okay in spurts when she's had some minutes, but she hasn't been able to get real minutes. I'll say it like that. So I'm not going to say she's doing her thing, but um, she's out there with a great person to learn from with Kelsey Plum. Um, you say that was a cheap shot, uh, cheap shot from Asia to Coach Yolanda need grace, man. So don't think she's rushing her too much. Yeah. Um, Now, are you saying that that's how Alana got hurt? Was a cheap shot from Asia? Because I didn't see it. I don't know when she had hurt her face. Was it during this year or was it unrivaled? Or I mean, when did it happen? Because the season is young. So is that something that happened this year, or is it something that she's still recovering from one of the other leagues, or what? Because I'm really unfamiliar with what happened to her, to be honest with you. Um, but yeah, Asia got them sharp elbows, man. She do throw them sometimes. I'm not gonna lie about that. See, that's the thing about the young ladies from South Carolina that I actually love, and like I say, I'm biased because of that. But yeah, that's jacked up in the preseason. Okay, yeah, but that's one thing. Like if you were watching the game tonight with the Valkyries, I mean, like I said, the three of the fouls that Aaliyah got caught on her were offensive fouls against Letitia Amihir. And Letitia Amihir naturally is a South Carolina alum. They actually came in together. They were one of South Carolina's most productive classes, called them the Freshies. They won the 22 championship together. So, they go at each other. I mean, some of the worst beatings that Aaliyah has taken has been at the hands of Asia, and some of the worst beatings Asia have taken has been at the hands of Aaliyah. And then they both get beat on a little bit by Camila Cardozo. So that's one thing I can say about them, man, is that I genuinely, and of course I'm biased, but I genuinely don't think that they play dirty. I just think they have a physical style underneath that basket. And, it just is what it is, because I can guarantee you they're not playing dirty against each other. That's just how they play underneath that basket, man. And to be honest with you, for old school basketball fans, that's what you expect from a big. You don't expect threes and stretching the floor and all that. You expect somebody to get up under that basket and get you some buckets when they need it. And if I'm being honest, I feel like that's what happened tonight with Aaliyah, is that she got those offensive fouls. She started playing a little more passive. And if you notice, after a certain part in the game, everything she did was a fadeaway. Even at the end, that last shot was kind of almost like a Dirk Nowitzki 1 foot fading away. I'm like, come on now, Leah, that's not you. You get that ball with zero point 0.7 seconds to go and you just put it up. You go into her chest, put it up. Either you make the shot, possibly get a foul, go to the line, tie it up, or maybe you get an offensive foul. Who cares? But it's zero point 0.6 seconds to go. So to go fade away at that point, I was a little disappointed. I'll be honest. I think she should have took it into the player. You either get fouled going to the basket, possibly get the basket to tie it, possibly get fouled, shoot the free throws to tie it, or heck, maybe they call your fifth foul and you end the game that way. But I didn't like seeing her fading away. But that was the adjustment she had to make to stop getting offensive fouls called on her, which was unfortunate, but I mean that's the way it played out. So, um, yeah, I mean it didn't seem like. Um, oh, you talking about Asia? Okay. Um, On the 3-point line. Okay. I'm gonna have to look at that one. So, in your opinion, then, what did happen? I mean, because I'm pretty sure she didn't like just hit her in the face, but what was the reason that there was even a elbow to the face at the 3-point line? That sounds very extreme. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but that don't sound cool. And I'm saying it having not seen it, but yeah, that don't sound cool, man. But um, I know I have seen Asia occasionally getting beat up and get to a point where she didn't had enough. I can say that I have witnessed that before, cause I don't know, I don't know if you remember last year. I want to say it was last year. It may have been the year before, but I want to say it was last year where I think Asia was playing Dallas when they had them twin towers, man. So it might have been the year before, because that's when they had McCowan and oh, I forget the other girl. But you remember when Dallas had them two big 6'5" girls that was bullies, and Asia was getting beat up. She was getting beat up, and I mean beat up, because I think she had gauze in both nostrils. She had been knocked in the face. She had some little cuts and stuff along her nose and all that. I mean, she was getting beat up. But cause she ain't the biggest girl. You know what I'm saying? She's a little lean, but she's strong and she'll battle. But yeah, she was getting beat up, man. And I know after a while, she does get tired of it. But I don't see Alana Smith as being that type of player. So I'm not saying that at all. That's why I'm curious to know what happened. Um, but yeah, I'll look into it. I appreciate you giving me that information. But um, boy, elbows and broken noses or whatever out at the 3-point line sounds extreme. But once again, whoever's coming in, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Hit that like button as you come in. Welcome to the GD Sports Network. We are talking WNBA, to include the games tonight, the Indiana Fever and the Golden State Valkyrie. And if you've got any commentary on the Dallas Wings and the Las Vegas Aces, feel free to say that as well. Um, there was a cheap shot. Asia got frustrated and elbowed her in the face when Alana was guarding her. Okay, yeah. I think I may have seen a clip of that, if I'm being honest. I don't fully remember. I don't know if she swung her elbows like she was ready to pass the ball. I don't think it was on a shot or something. But yeah, I may have seen that now that you're saying it. Now, was the elbow, was it a left or right elbow, or was it an up and down elbow? But I think now that you're telling me about it, I may have seen some parts of that. I may have seen some parts of that. But yeah, I mean, I ain't gonna defend her, man. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Because there's been some things that she's done against Aaliyah. That's why I say, yeah, left to right, yeah. There's been some things, like I say, man, when they battling, it ain't no love lost. They may be sisters off the court, but on that court, man, they go at it. They go at it, and they go at it hard. So I understand that, but yeah, no, being cheap and nasty, um, I don't agree with that. I don't think that she and Alana would necessarily have a reason. Oh well, I'm saying that, but they are both defensive player of the year type candidates. So if there's a little bit of personal with that, you know, I'm not saying that that makes it right. I'm just saying if that's what it's rooted in, then I would understand. But other than that, I mean, I don't know what rivalry they would have, um, especially from a collegiate level. But by all means, man, hey, if she's wrong, she's wrong, and she needs to be called for it because there's plenty of times when, like I say, my number one squad is Indiana, and there's times I've seen her, even when we went down to Atlanta when Atlanta played Las Vegas. That's where Las Vegas beat them by 2 points the other night, and there was a couple of screens that Asia had set that I was questioning. I definitely, I'm not gonna just give her a pass every time because she's from South Carolina. That's for sure. Because I moved out to South Carolina, man, in 2020. So, Aaliyah was my first class, and I did not get to see Asia play in college. So, like I say, Asia's kind of my baby. I mean, Aaliyah is kind of my baby. So, when it comes to the two of them, I'll pick Aaliyah most of the time. But Asia's a great player, and she's a great person when it comes to the University of South Carolina. So I'm not knocking her. But yeah, if you're wrong, you're wrong, and it needs to be addressed. Um, but yeah, let me get some more comments on this game. Now, y'all tell me what y'all think y'all saw. Tell me why you feel like the Fever deserved to lose, or why you feel like the Fever should have won. Because I'm on the side of I feel like the Fever should have won. But this is par for the course for them this year, is being in games. I mean, right now, if I'm correct, we're 0-3 in close games. Now, well, that's not true. I think we won another close game, but we're 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 definitely below 500 in close games, and that's got to stop if you want to be a championship team. Because first of all, you probably shouldn't be close in some of these games in the first place. But if you cannot make a stop and win some of these close games, there's no way you're going to be a championship team. So, like I stated, they have a 107-104 loss, they have a 104-102 loss, and they have a 90-88 loss. Yeah, none of their wins have been quote unquote close. Um, 87-78, 9-point win. 89-78, 11-point win. 90-73, a 17-point win. 90-82, an 8-point win. So every close game they've had, they have lost. So that's a problem. And if you can't make defensive stops when you need a defensive stop, you will continue to lose ball games. And that's just reality. That's not my opinion. That is what we're witnessing. And that is what will continue to happen if they cannot make defensive stops. So let me know what you're thinking. If you are an Indiana Fever fan, and if you are not, hey, tell me why you're happy to see that they lost. Tell me all of the deficiencies that they have and why they're not a good team. Either or, doesn't bother me any. But um, for me, I'm just tired of seeing close losses. I'm tired of seeing close losses, and everybody wants to, defend Caitlin Clark. I'm not blaming Caitlin Clark. Just hear me out. What I am saying is sometimes people always want the star to be the star only by scoring. Clearly, Caitlin Clark is a multifaceted player. Clearly, she's leading the league in assists. I'm not sure after tonight because I think she might have had 4 or 5, but she wasn't at her normal, 8 or 9. So assists tonight, she had 6. Respectable, but she's been averaging 9. So, sometimes you just got to make the play for a teammate and get away with the win. And tonight, I feel like she had an opportunity to make a play for a teammate, um, but she went for that 3 at like 31.4 seconds and got her shot blocked because everybody in the arena knew what she was going to do. And, she tried to get to her spot and raise up, and Golden State wasn't having it. So, sometimes I just feel like um, when the hot hand is a bench player, you have to let that bench player have a hot game. They may only have a hot game every 5 or 6 games. They may have one hot game a season. Who knows? But in that moment, you've got to let that bench player have their moment and, be player of the game and keep it moving. They get one game ball all season. Let them have it. You know what I mean? So, like they say, shoot or shoot, shoot or shoot. Well, she shot 25% tonight, and it wasn't enough. But you had another player shooting 70%, and you probably should have gave him a few more opportunities. Now, part of that, again, I'm not blaming Caitlin Clark saying she did whatever she did, because part of that is Stephanie White not allowing that player to stay in the game at times and get off or stay Just stay in the moment. Because again, I say to you, when that player that I'm speaking on specifically, being Raven Johnson, is your number one defensive player, especially on the perimeter, number one defensive player on the perimeter, it would not have hurt you to give her 30 minutes tonight because she's already your best perimeter defender anyway, and she's scoring, and she's scoring, and she's shooting 2 of 3 from three. So, I mean, she had all phases of her game going, and you took her out. So, I'm not saying if you took her out because she was tired that I'm mad. We always talk about that. If she's fatigued, take her out. But I am saying she deserved more minutes tonight of all nights. She should have been in the game more. And I believe they would have won the game because part of winning close games is making stops when you need them. But as you come in, please hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that like button. Welcome to the GD Sports Network. Hit the like button for me as you come in. And let me know how you feel about tonight's game. Good, bad, or indifferent. Doesn't matter to me. Let me know what you're thinking. Indiana Fever, Dallas Wings, Golden State Valkyrie, Las Vegas Aces. What did you see tonight? What are you thinking as we are currently at the, what are we, seven game stretch for most teams? 5-2, 4-3, somewhere in there. 7 games in. 7 games in this league will put you about a sixth of the season in because they're going to play about 44. So we're about a sixth of the season in. What do you think about your team at this point? And what do you feel like needs to be done for your team, whoever that may be? Naturally, the title of this video is telling you about the Indiana Fever and the Golden State Valkyries. If either one of those are your team, let me know what you think about your team right now. And let me tell me where you think they're going this year. If they got a chance. If they don't, tell me why. If they do, tell me what you think their win total will be and how you see them progressing throughout the year. Talk to me. But yeah, man, this game tonight, it really pissed me off. Now I will say I'm not gonna lie. Again, I'm biased. I'm an Indiana fan, but I definitely feel like some of the foul calls were a little skewed. I knew that sitting in the building in Indiana, and I told my wife, I said, you know what? If they're getting calls here in Indiana, what calls are they gonna get in Golden State? I said that sitting there last Friday night. But that being said, there were a few times tonight where Golden State was allowed to be very physical. I mean, they had, I think, 11 or more blocks. Now, some of those were just clean blocks. It is what it is. But there's other times, like late in the game, Maisha Hines-Allen had the ball underneath the basket, went up, she was slapped across both forearms, and they just called the ball out of bounds. And I'm like, man. And then we were down, I think at that point, we were down a point, maybe 2. I don't remember the exact point total. But what ends up happening is that they called the ball just out of bounds, like it was cleanly knocked out of bounds. So they had hacked her across both forearms, and it left very little time on the shot clock. So after that, we forced up a shot, which naturally didn't go, and they went down and got an and one. So it was a 5-point swing, potentially, because I'm not saying Maisha would have made both free throws, but potentially as a 5-point swing. And at that point, I felt like, yeah, this might be over. You know what I mean? So, that's just one of the examples. But yeah, they were allowing Golden State to be very physical, considering that Aaliyah was getting in foul trouble for being physical. So it was a little skewed for me as an Indiana fan. But, I'm one of those people who I will point some things out, but I'm also very hard on my own team. So yes, I do feel as though there were some calls the referee should have made, even some against Caitlin, when we're talking about the whole, we're calling more fouls this year and the freedom of movement and this and that. I think early in the game, Caitlin was getting, she got beat up a little bit. And I usually laugh because Caitlin will not uh, allow things to not show on her face. You know what I mean? She's very demonstrative with her looks and, you know, shrugs and, she's just very, very demonstrative with how she looks at the refs and the little expressions she'll give and stuff like that. So I kind of chuckle sometimes as long as she's, not getting hurt. But there were definitely some calls she should have gotten at different times that she did not get. And I know that's frustrating. But at the same time, my point is you still lost by 2. And you could have won the game. You missed 8 free throws. That's where it starts. You missed 8 free throws. But not only did you miss 8 free throws, if I go through the stats right now and go through the, play by play, I'm pretty sure a lot of their points, or at least enough of their points in the fourth quarter, were scored from the free throw line, meaning Golden State. So Indiana also has to learn how to play without fouling in these close games because some of these teams, they're like automatic from the free throw line. Some of these teams are automatic. They don't step to the line and miss. So sending them to the free throw line is like giving them points. You know what I mean? It's just giving them points. You say who? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about what? Tell me more. Express yourself. Nobody cares about what? Because I've said a few things. Are we saying about the Indiana Fever, about the WNBA, about a certain team, about a certain player? What is it that people don't care about? Let me know what you feel. But yeah, it's just it's one of those things where, you know, you got to do your part. I mean, because people can say you were fighting the refs, it was 5 against 8 and all those kind of things, but you lost by 2. You had an opportunity to win the game, and you didn't. So, anytime it's a game like that, I get on my own team and say what they could have done. So, yeah, I'm going to mention what I see, and I did see some bad calls, but at the same time, I also know my team could have won the game, and they didn't. And the things that I think that they did wrong was I don't think they allowed the hot hand to remain the hot hand. I don't think that they used their defensive stopper the way they should have used their defensive stopper. And I feel like the closing lineup should have been the players who actually on that given night were getting it done. And I don't think they did that. I think they tried to stay with their starters to get through the game. And tonight, I feel like the bench showed up and did their job and should have been the reason that they won. So I do understand the concept of saying you go with who got you here and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, basketball is a game of not only runs, but a game of ebbs and flows. And sometimes the ebbs and flows are going to be your bench. And there's plenty of times when you'll see the bench close out the game if they're the hot hand. And I think that's where Indiana lost the game tonight. I think they didn't stay with the hot hands, and it cost them. So though I do firmly believe that Stephanie White coached a great game last time against Golden State, I think she was pretty good tonight. But I just think she didn't stay with the bench as long as she should have. But let me know what you're thinking because it's been over an hour here and I'm probably going to be ending this live. Tell me what you're thinking. If you got any more comments you want to share and get any response back from me here or even after the fact when it's over, if you want to leave some comments, I will respond back. But yeah, I was just chiming in, man, because I felt like this was a game Indiana should have won. I mean, you're always saying coulda, shoulda, woulda, and all of that. Tonight was a game they should have won. Because like I said, I am a Raven Johnson fan. Raven Johnson went to high school with my daughter. So I am a Raven Johnson fan. That being said, I don't expect 20 points a night from her. And I think tonight was a night she could have scored 20. She had 16. She did have a little bunny right at the basket that was blocked, which would have been her 18th. But I feel like tonight she could have went for 20, if not 20 plus. And I don't feel like she got enough minutes tonight. Even at 21, I don't feel like she got enough tonight. So, like I said, if you want to say anything prior to me ending this live, go ahead and hit me in that chat. And if you don't, that's respectable as well. I appreciate you tuning in. And once again, welcome to the GD Sports Network. For those unaware, that GD stands for Girl Dad. My daughter plays semi-pro football down in Atlanta. And if you look on my channel under the lives, you will see all of her games I live stream. My daughter is all of 5 feet tall, 100 pounds, and she plays full contact helmet shoulder pads football. She is a starting free safety for her team out in Atlanta, Georgia. She actually was just picked to the All-Pro team this past week. So yeah, my baby girl has gone All-Pro, and very proud of that. But like I said, I'm gonna be ending this live. If you could, go ahead and like this, share it, and paid off dreams. I appreciate that. Yeah, man, she's a little beast. If you got the time, man, go ahead and check out some of them lives, man, cause she be balling, man. She's she's a little beast. She got it on her. She's actually a track star who decided she was gonna play football. So she got some good wheels on her, man. She's got a good feel of the game. She's able, especially at that free safety position, man, to sit back there, read it out, read and react. So a lot of people say that's what they like seeing Caitlin Clark do on the basketball court. Well, that's what my daughter does on the football field. She reads and reacts, man, and she goes and she makes it happen. Yeah, definitely do that, man. She's entertaining, man. She's a little heat seeking missile, and sometimes she goes in there, quite frankly, and earns the respect of the bigger players, especially some of the bigger running backs, and even the quarterback last week. They played a team out in Carolina, Lexington, North Carolina, and that girl was a beast, man. And my daughter met her at about the 4-yard line going in, and she stopped her from going in, and my daughter's team ended up winning 19-14. So yeah, she's willing to go make it happen, man. So I give her all the credit in the world, man. She got the heart, and I love seeing her play. But yeah, if you want to check any of them games out, check out my channel, go under the lives, and like I say, last week's game was against the Carolina Tigers, and they getting ready for the playoffs, man. So we're trying to see if we're gonna get that 4 seed and host the opening round, or if we're gonna have to go on the road. But as of right now, we're the 4 seed, so we should be hosting the first round of the playoffs, and then going from there. But once again, everybody, welcome to the GD Sports Network. I appreciate y'all chiming in. Before you head out, hit that like button for me. And again, if you are interested in seeing any women's full contact tackle football, check out the channel. And I'm going to get back at y'all with some of these lives, man, after some of these games, just a little bit of feedback. And we'll go from there. But once again, thanks for tuning in to the GD Sports Network. I'm going to be signing out, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe tonight, and we'll see you again. I'm out.